Hey everyone, welcome to another video game review as I try to figure out how to hold my phone. Um, Final Fantasy 16. Now, I feel like a lot of people see my reviews and they're like, this guy gets way too hyped over literally everything. Because I feel like I come out of games and movies, especially, like, really high on them. And I will say to begin with that I think, sorry, I'm sick, so if I sound gross, I feel gross. Final Fantasy 16 is probably, to get this out of the way, the most okay game that I have ever played. Like, it's the most, like, perfect definition of, like, just fine. Like, it's not, like, outstanding. It didn't blow me away like Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. And there were times when I did almost, like, want to put it down. Like, what I said to my girlfriend as we were playing this together was, like, honestly, if this wasn't a Final Fantasy game, there's multiple times I would have stopped because it's a little bit weird. The music, as always, is awesome. One thing that I want to get out of the way, the combat system is really good. I wasn't a fan of it at first because I was playing Ghost of Tsushima at the same time, and playing two action games like that together. Ghost of Tsushima is like very precision based on the combat system in that, and feels extremely satisfying, and Final Fantasy 16 is not that. It's not quite as precise, and it took me a while to get used to, like, to be okay with the difference there. Final Fantasy 16's combat system is fun, but I wish it was a little bit more expanded, and I'll talk about what I mean by that kind of in a later segment. It gets a bit button mashy at times, which it's hard to make an action game that isn't button mashy, but you go through these different summons that you, like, icon abilities that you get access to throughout the game. You can have 3 different icons equipped at once, all with 2 abilities plus like a circle button ability. And usually what ends up happening is the way that I did it was I would fight to stagger an enemy and then just spam all the abilities in a row to get the most damage rather than using any form of strategy whatsoever. And the combat system is fun and satisfying, but it's like, it gets a little mashy at times. And sometimes the, like, peewee enemies that they throw at you, it literally feels like a Dynasty Warriors game with you just slaughtering things and there being no issue whatsoever. And a lot of, like, some of the, like, I would call them, like, mid-bosses, like, regular enemies, but they have, like, a stagger meter, feel like HP tanks. Like, they aren't hard, but they take a while to kill just because they have so much health. And I feel like the game struggled to strike a balance in those regular battles because I was, like, slaughtering everything, like, wiping the floor with regular enemies. And then when I would get to the bigger enemies, there were some satisfying fights when I was doing some of the hunt missions when I was really underleveled for them. I did the highest level one, the level 51, when I was, like, level 36. And that took me, like, 2 hours to do, that one boss fight. And that was fun to, like, figure out. And I'm sure, like, there's a New Game Plus mode where everything is harder and it doubles the level cap. I'm sure that makes use of that a little bit more, but in the regular game, which is all that I played through, the combat gets a little bit samey at times. But what is excellent in this game, the boss fights, the, like, big boss fights, are, like, 11 out of 10. Every single one of them is this big epic ordeal, accompanied by probably the best boss music in any game that I've ever played. Like, it's really epic. A lot of them, like, there's cutscene parts of them where you have to do quick time events, where it's like, it feels like you're, like, doing this really cool thing, but all you're doing is square at the right time. But, like, some of those summon battles, like, where you're fighting another icon, literally are 2-hour long affairs. Like, because there's so many phases. Like, the Titan boss fight has, like, 3 phases to it, and it takes, like, 2 hours to beat that one boss alone. And it's not even because you're dying, it's just because it's such a long, epic fight. And I really liked that. Like, I thought the boss battles were perfectly done, except Odin felt a little lackluster. But that's mostly due to plot stuff that I'll talk about in a second. Um, but yeah, the boss fights really use the system very well, and it shows that it's not a flawed combat system. It just feels like regular enemies are too weak, and they don't even really hit you. And then the bigger enemies that you find are mostly just like HP tanks that take forever to kill, but they aren't hard to kill. Um, but the boss fights are really awesome. And what was jarring is this is an M-rated game, and I'm so used to Final Fantasy kind of like toning down the violence and cussing for a teen rating, where here you have like beheadings, you cut someone's hands off, blood spurting everywhere, a lot of F-bombs. It was like really jarring at first to get used to, but I really liked it. I really liked the overall like world building of this game. I liked the world building of this game, of the different factions and the role of the icons in the world, where the dominants are kind of like the ones that they always send into battle to wipe the floor with all of the little soldiers. And I really liked each area's kind of individual story. To get into plot, I think it's weird because I spent 100 something hours on this game, but it felt like it moved too fast. Like, it felt like they had these big ideas that were really good and really well executed. Like, there's big plot points that are really awesome, and like I really like each individual story on its own, like the rivalry between Clive and Hugo Titan. That was built up really well, and there was stakes there where he's taking Hugo down because of their past history. And then there's Dion's story, which is really good. Bahamut, that one is really good as well. And then Odin's story is okay, but I felt weird that they built him up as being this big villain that Clive has a rivalry with when they literally didn't really even know about each other. That one felt a little off to me. What I have seen people say is the plot requires you to infer a lot and like read between the lines and like look at the backstory, and it doesn't directly like spoon feed you everything, which I do like, but it feels like all of the transitionary material is really lacking. Like, it's like not interesting whatsoever. Like, it feels like very systematic. Like, we go fight a mother crystal, and then, oh, we have to take a break to do a little bit of side quests for everyone. And then we're going to go fight another mother crystal in this other area. It feels like the plot is very like streamlined, which the game is very like linear as well. Like, there's not very many big open areas, which I think this game could have benefited from. Like, it could have benefited from being like the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth type of world where it's big and open. Whereas, like, there were so many times when I was shocked while I was playing that it's like, oh, we're going to go travel over there. And then it would bring you to the map screen, and you don't even walk there. You literally click on the fast travel icon to go there instead of physically going there. Like, I get that, like, he walked there anyways, but it's like, we don't get to see it, which is weird to me. For the most part, the characters in this game are pretty lacking. Like, it's not that they're boring, it's just that you don't see them a lot. And it's weird that you'd never get to control another party member other than Joshua for a brief bit at the beginning. You never get to control any other party members, which I feel like makes it really tough. Like, I've talked about other games like Final Fantasy VII, the original, being a lot of just Cloud, and Xenoblade 1 being a lot of just Shulk. Like, main character syndrome in the video game, where the main character gets literally all of the development and all of the plot. This is the worst offender of that I've ever played. Like, Clive literally gets all of the screen time. You never really get any development out of the other characters. Like, they develop on the side, but you don't really get to see it personally, because what's like the weirdest thing for me is like doing all these side quests for people, and like I didn't even know like Jill was with me half the time. Like I'd be talking to people and she wouldn't have any input. She'd just show up in the next battle and I'm like, what? She's with me? I didn't even know. um, like Jill has moments and Joshua has moments, and even Gav. Gav was one of my favorite characters, but he never really like some of those ending quests, like the quests that you get dropped like right before the end of the game, are really good for that, which shows me that they can do that because those quests involved the other characters and were really nice and really good. But they could have done more of that throughout, because I feel like that impacted how much I cared in these bigger like emotional sequences. There's a lot of emotional sequences in the game where it felt like they expected you to care a little bit more than I did. And I'm a crier during like big emotional impacts in movies and games. It's not hard to make me cry. I bawled my eyes out during Xenoblade 3. But this one I like would like have like a tear start to come down and then it'd suck back up because I'd think, "Wait, why do I care?" Because I literally have not even seen the relation. Like they do a lot of telling on how the relationships between the characters are, but they don't do a lot of showing. And I think that's what impacts the character development in characters other than Clive, is we don't see that a lot. We get told about it, but we don't see their relationship. Like we can feel how much Clive cares about Joshua, but that one's probably shown the most, and it's still not that much. Like it's shown in that flashback sequence in the beginning of the game, and the whole goal is for Clive to come to terms with killing Joshua, and then realizing he didn't actually. But we get told a lot of that instead of actually seeing their interactions with each other throughout the rest of the game. Like I wish the other characters, A, were playable, and B, were able to were involved in other side quests, like involved in the side quests. Like even like Xenoblade 1, the other characters at least inputted a line or two of dialogue with you when you were talking to other NPCs. No one like is even present at this time, like in this game. So it makes it really hard to care about the other characters. And like one sequence specifically when like Jill and Clive have their first like romantic thing after Odin cuts the sea in half or whatever. It felt out of nowhere because it felt like they were hinting towards them like liking each other like that. But the payoff wasn't there because you didn't see it. I think that's the biggest issue with this game, is a lack of character moments and character interaction with each other. It feels like, here's the big plot moment, now we're going to move to the next one, and now we're going to move to the next one without having anything develop in between. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel about the plot of this game. It just feels really messy, and it's a roller coaster in terms of like development. Like normally you have like rising action, climax, falling action, a straight graph, and this one's like all over the place, where it's like you have this big epic fight with Titan, and then you do a bunch of side quests after, and then you go to the next area. The only one that I felt like was really developed well was the Sanbreque stuff, because you see that in like they do it with that one. That you see flashbacks, or like you see like you see what they're talking about throughout the plot. So that's developed as it goes on, but other stuff isn't, which is weird. It's just inconsistent. It's like really inconsistent. I get why they don't have you play as other characters, because Clive has access to all the icons and the others just don't. So the other characters would be inherently weaker. But you could at least have like missions that you can play as the other characters on. I don't know. There had to have been a better way to do it than having it be the Clive show the entire time. But let me check what time it is. Oh, I can't. Overall, this game's okay. As I said, it's probably the most okay game I've ever played. It was fine, but I wasn't like sad that it was over or anything when I finished it. I was like kind of like, all right, next game. It's probably the game that I've played most recently that I'm like, for sure this is not going on my top 50, not because it's bad, but just because it's mid. Um, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. I really liked it in some spots, which is makes it so disappointing that it's not that good. Like, it's not spectacular because there's so many spectacular moments, but it's so inconsistent that it ruins it. Um, but yeah, that's my thoughts on Final Fantasy 16. After I beat the main story and all the side stuff. I did all of that like in one playthrough. Haven't done anything outside of that. But that's all. 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Peace out.